So let's talk about this required practical to do with reflection and refraction. Now there are a couple of different ways of doing this. The most common I've seen, you get something like this. You get a glass block, and then what you do is you get something like a ray box, or basically anything else that can project a narrow beam of light, and you shoot that into the block like so, and you're going to investigate what happens to the light after that point. So there will be some reflection from the surface of the block, like so. You can't really see it very well on this photo, but it is there. So you'll get a reflected ray. And also you'll get some light passing into the block with a change in its direction. And that is a refracted ray. Now you can do this experiment changing angles of things. You can do it changing the material. We'll just talk about general methods today because I'm sure you'll have done it your own particular way wherever out in the world you are. So let's start off by talking about reflection. So as I said, what you've got with this is you have got a glass block and you have a ray of light entering the block. Now this ray of light has a particular name. This ray of light is called the incident ray. Okay. You then have your reflected ray coming back off the surface. We're not going to worry about the refracted one so far. You've got your reflected ray coming off like that. Reflected ray. Now, of course, I need to add on some arrows to show direction, like so. Right, and what we are going to do is we're going to have a bit of an investigate into angles. So when you do this for real, what you will do is you will probably draw some lines onto a piece of paper, and then you can start doing some measurements with a protractor. So what one of your first steps once you've actually done this experiment and drawn your lines and such is you will draw an imaginary line at 90 degrees at right angles to the surface of the material you're using, in this case the glass block, and this is called the normal. Okay, you then have some measurements of angle to take, so you are going to need to get out your protractor. I don't have a real protractor, I've just got a pretend one. And then what you are going to do is measure two angles. This angle here, so that's between the incident ray and the normal, and this angle here between the reflected ray and the normal. Okay, so this angle here, the pink one, unsurprisingly, because it is measuring from the normal to the incident ray, is called the angle of incidence. And the other angle, the one between the reflected ray and the normal, unsurprisingly, is called the angle of reflection. You see, sometimes science makes total sense. Now, you might do this with various materials. You might vary the angle of incidence, so it's coming in sharp on the block or coming in shallow on the block. But then you will start doing it a number of times and you'll start recording in a results table. So you'll have a results table like this: angle of incidence, which is in degrees, and angle of reflection, again in degrees. And what you'll start seeing is you start getting pairs of results like this. So let's say the angle of incidence here was, I don't know, 27 degrees. Again, I've just pulled that out of nowhere. The angle of reflection would be 27 degrees. If the angle of incidence was 63 degrees, then you would see that the angle of reflection was 63 degrees. If you saw that it was, I don't know, 41 degrees, the angle of incidence, then the angle of reflection would also be 41 degrees. And that takes us to an important point, that when we're talking about reflection, the angle of incidence equals the angle of reflection. Now, if you're sitting in there looking at some results thinking, actually, they don't, when I look at my results, the angle of incidence doesn't equal the angle of reflection, then I am terribly sorry. Then that is error that you have introduced through either drawing the lines or measuring. So I am terribly sorry to have to tell you that. So anyway, that's the reflection. That's the easy one. Let's crack on and talk about refraction. So refraction, if you remember, back to my first drawing, I have my incident ray. Incident ray sounds like a musician's name. Incident ray going to the glass block like so. In fact, I'll label that up. Incident ray. And then you have your refracted ray going off in a different direction through the block. Like so. So that there is your refracted ray. Okie dokes. So before I start talking about how and what you measure, just a quick word about why this refraction is happening. Why is this change occurring? Well, let me try and explain two ways. I am going to use this little diagram here, and I'm going to use this car diagram. I'll tell you what, I'll start off with the car diagram. So imagine that you are driving in a car, and then you lose attention for a second, and the wheels on this side come off the road and onto the gravel, right? So the wheels on this side decelerate. But the wheels on the other side continue on at the same speed. What would occur? The car would swerve like that because part of the car has decelerated and part of it has carried on. Okay, hold that thought. If I just go back to my wiggly snake diagram here, this red box represents the glass block. Okay. Surrounding the glass block, you have air. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because the glass block is a more dense medium than air. Air is a less dense medium. Now, how do I know that? Well, I can wave my hand around in the air, but I can't wave my hand through a glass block. That's a very quick test for you there. Now, that actually matters, that whole thing about less dense medium, because as you can see, so your ray of light's going along. Here it goes. Everything's fine. Comes to this point, and then what we've got is we've got this section of the ray decelerating first, and the other section continuing on at the same speed. So it's like the whole thing starts to swerve that way. Okay. Eventually, the other side hits the glass block here. That decelerates as well, and then the ray of light carries on happily as normal. We get to the other side though, and we see the reverse. This side here hits the ray of hits the interface between the glass block and the air, and it starts to speed up again because it's got out of this dense medium. So this side here starts to speed up and go super fast. So the whole thing starts to swerve this way. Eventually, the other part of the ray, the other side of the ray, reaches the interface and it speeds up as well. And then the glass block continues on straight. So it's all to do with the fact that when light goes into a more dense medium, it decelerates. And when it moves out back into a less dense medium, it accelerates up again. So where does this leave us with our little experiment? So again, you'll have put it on a piece of paper, you'll have drawn out the various lines and such, but the really critical one to get right, well, they're all critical to get right. The one that you're going to have to add yourself, the one you're going to have to imagine, is the normal. Again, that imaginary line that says normal. Normal is at right angles to the surface of the block. Again, you're going to have to get your protractor, and again, you're going to have to measure this angle here. Do you remember what that angle was called, I wonder? Yes, of course you do. It's the angle of incidence. And then the other angle that you want to measure is this angle just here. Okay, that angle there is the angle of refraction. Okay, so you're going to need those two angles, the angle of refraction, and the angle of incidence. And then what you do is you put them into a results table, like that one. So let me just label that up. Angle of incidence. Again, degrees, because it's an angle. And then you have your angle of refraction, again in degrees. So what you'll see is, like if your angle of incidence was like 47 degrees, then your angle of refraction might be 30. If you had an angle of incidence of 38 degrees, then your angle of incidence might be 25. If you had an angle of incidence of, I don't know, 11 degrees, then your angle of refraction would be, I don't know, 3. Now this is only true of this bit here, and I'll tell you why in a second. So what you can see here is when a ray of light moves from a less dense medium, like air, and it moves to a more dense medium, like glass, what you see is that the ray of light bends towards the normal. So if you look here at my little diagram, you can just see by eye that the angle of refraction is smaller than the angle of incidence. That's because the ray of light is bending towards the normal. And the reason I was very specific to say it's to do with this region over here is if you look at the other side, and I just draw a little quick normal here, normal, there we go, like so. Again, what you can see just here is you've got your angle of incidence, your new angle of incidence just there, so teeny tiny. And then coming out, you have another new angle just here, like so. And you can see as it's moved from the dense glass block out into the air, you can see that it's bent away from the normal. This angle here is bigger than that angle there. So it's the inverse of this rule. If a ray of light moves from a more dense medium, like glass, to a less dense medium, like air, it will bend away from the normal. So if I just pop back to my results table just here, where's my rubber gone? And I just rub out all these results. Oh no, I need to turn my, there we go, there's my pen back on. Oh no, I've got rid of the incidence. If we were looking at this region over here where the ray of light is exiting the glass block, what you might see is an angle of incidence of 10, but then an angle of refraction of 24, because that angle is getting larger. If you saw an angle of incidence of 20, you might see it, I don't know, at 36, and so on and so on. But the important point that I'm just going to leave you with before I sign off is the exact relationship between the angle of incidence and the angle of refraction, be it going in or being out. It is dependent on the media that you are using. So I'm assuming that air will be one of your medias because you're going to be doing this experiment on planet Earth, but you might be using a perspex block, a glass block, something else exotic. I don't know. Maybe your school has got a block of diamond for you to do this with. I don't know. But the exact relationship between the angle of incidence and angle of refraction will depend on the two media, what the less dense one is and what the more dense one is. Okay, thank you very much.